Thank you. Hover. This is the Bryan Callen Show. Do you call your show the Bill Burr Show?
No, I don't.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I blame
Listen, it's
Rogan.
okay. It's okay if you don't listen to it.
Listen, your podcast is huge.
It isn't.
You do it alone.
It isn't. And you know what? I'm the only guy who's honest about his podcast.
Well, don't you
Everybody
do really
says,
well?
dude, I got like 9 million downloads.
Yeah,
I'm
I
number
know.
one on Everybody's number one on iTunes. It's like when you go to a community college, they try to figure out what the fuck they're number one in. The number one, number two pencil fucking history class in the Neponset Valley area.
Why do you do a podcast?
Look at this. I got to take this off and take off the helmet.
There you go.
Why do I do a podcast? All right, now you sound like you listen to it. Why are you doing that?
No.
I don't know why. I just started doing it. Like I was over Bobby Kelly's apartment, and he goes, "Hey, you know, people are starting to do these things," and I didn't know what it was. And it was like literally a 20-second podcast. I was like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm going to start doing these things," and just it was like building a stand-up act.
You have something to say. You know, one thing I'll say about you, I don't even know you well, but I'll tell you this, that I think it's very interesting. You have now become very successful as a stand-up comic and all that. But what's interesting about
I have my own line of mic stands coming out.
The Burr.
The
Burr 300X.
Yeah, you can adjust it with one hand now. For years, I don't know why they haven't had that.
You don't have to hold one down.
Yeah, it leaves your other hand free.
Did you design it in your workshop?
Yeah, I did.
But you did
met some
this.
guys in NASA.
I remember you know, I've never heard anything but you're kind of one of those comics that other comics talk about in very glowing terms, including Joe Rogan, including all the tastemakers. And, you know, you did this, you've been doing stand-up. You just showed me the list of cities you've hit this year. I mean, you're a workhorse. You've got 3 one-hour specials under your belt. You were on Breaking Bad. But what's interesting is I don't even know you, and you're synonymous with, not to blow smoke up your ass, but you really are, for me, synonymous. I was talking to Rogan about this, with integrity. And with
Jesus.
humor, with being very fucking funny.
You've never talked to any women in my life, but go ahead.
Exactly.
I'm very good at my job.
You make me feel good, though, about the state of affairs tonight. Like, one thing about Rogan was he was talking about you as you walked away. He goes, "Guy's fucking just a humble dude." You know, you're also painfully funny. I saw your set the other night. I haven't seen a lot of your stand-up, man. I'm, you know, we've been in the same circles a little bit, but
Dude, you're doing movies. I mean, you're in contact with world leaders. I mean, you don't have time to.
I don't have time for a kid from Boston.
You don't have time for me.
With red hair. That red hair is obviously a dye job, and it looks great on you.
You know, it is. Why would you dye something that's leaving you? It's like fixing up a car that doesn't run. You're going to sit there and paint it?
I agree, man. You have to start letting go of your vanity. I haven't, though. I work out all the time. When you went hiking today.
Yes, I did.
Which explains you're well developed, the frontal part of your legs, which I even through your jeans I can tell.
Yeah, I noticed you staring at my crotch area.
You have a great body.
I enjoyed it.
You got long legs and broad shoulders.
I do.
You have a good frame.
I have a twinkle in my eye. Christmas, 24/7.
How did you grow up? Big family?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Youngest?
Middle. It was in the middle.
And was it a surprise to you that you were funny?
Everybody was funny. Everybody was funny in my family, and everybody was funny in my town. Everybody was funny in my state. Everybody was just funny.
I went to high school up in Massachusetts, so I
hung out with just everybody was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
My friends that I went out drinking with were fucking hilarious. The people we then met as we went to different colleges and failed miserably, most of us.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to a number. I finished at, I almost said Aspen. I finished at Emerson.
Oh, that's not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, I landed on my feet.
Did you study literature?
With a math requirement was adding fractions, and everybody, I can't deal with it, man. All of my friends were fucking hilarious. Like, I was sort of like trying to keep up with them. Unfortunately, a number of them have passed away. Unfortunately, but
is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, it's just awful.
Were you working class?
Was I?
Yeah, blue collar.
No, I had this weird upbringing. My parents are both white collar professionals, but we grew up in this blue collar town, and for a number of years lived in like a split family, whatever you call it. Like
what town?
We had the. I'm not going to give all of this stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ, there's too many psychos out there. You're literally
I
making
know.
that red dot hover right over my parents' house.
I know what you mean by that, though. That is scary.
Yeah, it gets weird.
Yeah.
I did a gig. That's why I kind of pulled back a little bit on the podcast about as far as like divulging stuff, because I was in Stockholm, Sweden doing a gig. I go, yeah, I got a dog, and this guy in the back goes, Cleo. like yelled out the name of it, and
Jesus.
it was cool, and it freaked me out, and I was just like, and I have no one to blame but myself. But sometimes you just don't realize it as you're sitting there talking that you're putting all this shit out.
I took a picture. I guess I had my locations thing on. Some kid sent me a Google shot of my house with my red Prius, because I talk about Rogan makes fun of me for driving a Prius.
Don't you love that car?
The best. I now have.
You know what it's like? It's like a friend that never wants anything. You know what I mean? Never asks you to move.
So true.
It's just fucking. I actually got in that car today, and as I was backing it out, because I've been thinking about, get something flashy, whatever, and I was backing it out, and I got in the car and it started right up. I was like, I fucking love this car.
Listen, Rogan told me, he goes, you have some money. Buy yourself a Shelby, a Cobra or something. I'm like, listen, that car is so easy for me to drive. I never have to get out of it and fill it with gas. And I don't give a shit. And by the way, I got Barcelona red. The car salesman, the guy was like, don't you want a more manly color? I was like, no, I'm going to call this the Red Ram. And it's my red fucking Prius. It's a dishwasher with wheels on it. I love it. Now I have a Passat turbo diesel, only because it's safer.
I want to get that Tesla. A buddy of mine he bought just the sedan one that looks like more like a Lexus looking car.
Yeah.
Dude, it's one of the fastest cars I've ever been in. Granted, we're getting out of Priuses, but I have driven Corvettes, just so people know. It was unbelievable how fast that thing is, and you can drive from San Diego right up to the border of Canada.
Yeah.
And they're working on going across the country so that you can just charge it, and then you charge it for free.
Unbelievable.
It's just nobody. So the first thing I asked, I said, does the owner of that company have major security? And he goes, yes, he does. I would not be leaving the fucking house. I mean, you're messing with blue blood money. You're messing with people who profit off of war. And he had like 3 of the 5 things that took out Kennedy. You know what I mean? Like, he's already to that. Like, the convertible top is already halfway down.
Elon Musk is his name.
Is that the guy?
Yeah, he's a South African guy.
Dude, I cannot say
safer than any car on the road, except for the only problem is 3 of them have caught fire when they hit the wrong bump because they got a lithium-ion battery underneath.
But Mrs. My question though is, I would have to look that up because electric cars notoriously, once they start catching on, all of a sudden there's these rumors that come out. Like a long time ago, like take it out of that, just gas combustion engines. The Suzuki Samurai was like the college kid's Jeep, and they could afford it, and you could put your friends in. Remember that? Remember those commercials? You don't know where they go, wee! They just go up. They'd show the cars going around the racetrack, and they would just go up the little hill going, wee! Right? Like, it's fun for everyone. So they were killing it, and they were killing the Jeep, and then all of a sudden there was this rumor that they tipped over at 5 miles an hour, and kids were getting crushed, so parents were just like, you're not buying that. And then
I remember that
traced
very,
it
very
back.
well. Was that not true?
Allegedly, it came from the makers of Jeep.
Really?
The Jeep, yeah. Oh, come on, it's a brutal game.
You know what, man?
It's a brutal game out there.
We had these authors on the podcast who wrote a book called The Merchants of Doubt, which was that what they found was
now, what do these authors do?
They basically are journalists who wrote about they took a look at the science behind climate change. Yeah,
I've heard about those.
You're not a reader.
I'm not a reader.
Bill's a liver. He's not a reader. I love that. Did you read that book?
I go with my gut.
That's the greatest line in Cyrano de Bergerac. He goes, "Sir, have you read Don Quixote?" And he goes, "Sir, I've practically lived it."
Yeah.
It's my favorite. That's my favorite. Some people ask me if I wrote a book. But she kind of traced the people that were denying, the scientists that were denying that cigarette smoke caused cancer, were essentially nuclear physicists, weren't even biologists. And then the same guys they hired for to deny that the ozone layer and acid rain and now global warming are the same scientists. And these guys aren't so much they're not scientists, they're not credible climatologists or biologists. What they are, though, is that they have an ideology, which is a free market ideology.
They have a lab coat.
They got a lab coat.
You put
they
that
were
on, you
nuclear
go
physicists.
on TV. Yeah.
It's not their area. And these 2 journalists kind of traced how industry hires the same scientists over and over to create false rumors.
Right.
And it's a pretty devastating book.
And none of that is remotely shocking in my world, and that's the kind of thing that if you bring up to people, they go, "Oh, are you one of them conspiracy theorists?"
No.
And
but see, it is shocking to me.
But what kills me about the average individual out there that believes in the deal, okay, is they're not even in touch with how much they lie in like an hourly basis.
Yeah.
How many fucking times you're spinning what the fuck you just did in trying to get responsibility off you, justifying the piece of shit behavior that you have, and I'm as guilty as anybody. So
you're not though. No, you're not. Though.
Oh yes, I am. Yes, I am. Don't you dare say that I'm not. These people at the top, dude. They're not these evil shapeshifters. They're just us with a ridiculous amount of fucking power.
I agree with you.
And you can't.
I agree 100%.
My analogy is always: you take the average dude, he's fucking fine and everything. You make him a bouncer at a club, and he can all of a sudden decide who gets in and who doesn't.
That's right.
And
soldiers talk
instantly,
about that.
You ramp it up a little bit, and you get to that, you get to that banker level. I mean, you're just sitting there,
It's all about incentive structure. It's a human beings. If you put this guy wrote an article about when he was like a kind of a pacifist, and then he had a machine gun in his hand. He's from another country, and he joined this army. And he had a machine gun. He said it just changed his whole point of view. He'd walk in, and people were afraid of his machine gun, and he had power, and he started getting kind of addicted to that power.
That feeling.
I think all of us. I think that's a very good point. However, I do think as an adult,
it's a lot more comforting point to say, like, they're just like me. They're just a little out of. They need a timeout.
Well,
as opposed to they're evil and they want to farm me and put microchips
there's that
in me.
saying when the system turns good people corrupt, or when the only way to get ahead is by behaving corruptly, even though you might be a good person. That's when you know you have a huge problem.
Yeah.
But
what they should do is have some sort of test that, without you realizing it, if you're going to go for a powerful position, is they should put you in a situation to see how you behave. And if you don't come off like you're going to handle it and do the right thing, because not all politicians are bad people, not all bankers are bad, not every cop's a racist, right. And like this, it's just they're in like this. It's the Lance Armstrong thing. Lance Armstrong, what he did in his sport, that sport was so fucking corrupt. He's basically guilty of going to jail and making a shank.
That's right.
Now, you're not supposed to have a shank, but you're not going to fucking survive.
Right.
So in that sport, it's like
but
from
there's
top
a difference.
To bottom, everybody was doping.
Here's my problem with Lance Armstrong.
And I say that having never ridden a bike outside of Massachusetts.
No, but there is a fundamental difference. Lance Armstrong's a piece of shit, in my opinion, not because he cheated at biking with the way everybody does. My problem with him is that people who accused him of it under oath, he went after and tried to destroy with lawsuits and everything else.
That's that competitive side.
He's a fucking...
He can't turn it off.
I got nothing for that guy. And he's so intensely disliked, he'll be in court the rest of his life. But
he'd come in here and you'd ask him to autograph your Speedos.
Yeah, I would. I'm a bitch. The minute if I saw him in real life, I kiss ass. I'm a huge.
You'd ask him
ass.
how he stays in shape. You would.
People on my podcast.
Dude, I gotta tell you this right now. That fucking guy won that thing 7 times. I don't give a shit what you say.
It's true.
Everybody was doping. So it's like the 04 Red Sox versus the 04 Yankees.
Great. Listen.
It's our roided up guys beat your roided up guys. It was a fucking level playing field. Go fuck yourself.
Dude, great biker. Like you said, you can be an asshole in real life, but you might be really good. You might be a shitty husband, but a great politician. And one doesn't count. It doesn't mean that he's not a great biker. It does mean he's a shitty person if he goes after people like that. My issue is that as you get to a certain age, you do know what's right and wrong.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though. You've never existed in that stratosphere.
Oh, people say that bullshit. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
You can't. That's
How many
not an
bike
excuse.
races have you won? Metaphorically in your life.
Have you seen my 1 hour?
Huh? Have you?
Have you seen? I'll take my shirt. I'm built like a biker. I'll take my shirt off right now.
I'm just saying, it's so fucking easy to sit there and be like, oh, what a piece of shit. Dude, did you ever see that documentary when they had all those people winning the lottery and just how much it messed up? There was this guy, he was working at like a Home Depot, this big schleppy fucking, just no game whatsoever, married, family man.
Right.
All of a sudden he makes all this money and the fucking hottie at work starts throwing him looks and everything. He didn't know how to handle it. He starts fucking banging her.
I love it.
No, this is going to end bad. He starts banging her. And his wife finds out. He fucking leaves her. Leaves her wife. They break up. And then he's with her, but only for like a week, 10 days he's with her. And then he's like, what the fuck am I doing? He calls his wife. I fucked up. I want you back and everything. And she's like, no. And hangs up on him. And then she goes, oh, what am I doing? I love the guy. So she's driving over there.
He kills himself.
Calling him. Yes.
He kills himself.
By the time she gets over there, he killed himself. He fucked his whole life up.
But
that sounds like an urban myth. That sounds like an old lady story.
But that's that's something that where he got thrown a bunch of candy and he'd never had candy before. That's when somebody freaks out in the moment. Look, let's take you. Let's bring it right back.
You're gonna sit there and turn this lottery winner into a fucking hero. And you're going to say that Lance, like, what was his frame of fucking reference for winning the Tour de France? What was it?
Here's the difference.
Because he beat his brother down the driveway one day and he got a fudgicle?
Listen, victory and
I'm just going to say, for the rest of this podcast, I'm disgusted at you. But go ahead.
I'm disgusted.
I'm sitting here in protest.
I saved your message, by the way. It was very funny about that. But no, here's my thing. You become, let's bring it back to Bill Burr. You become very successful. You have. You're making lots of money. You're one of the best comics in the country, all this stuff, all the accolades. You're on Breaking Bad. You haven't changed. You haven't turned into an asshole at all. You're exactly the same as you were.
If you had any idea what my inner thoughts were right now. Dude, stop putting me up on a pedestal.
Yeah,
all right?
I'm doing so. I'm not the one who does it. Everybody does.
My whole yeah, exactly. And you guys are all going to be horrifically disappointed.
No, you've earned it. You've earned becoming one of the best comics in the world. You have. By working your ass off, by being smart and doing the right thing.
Here comes the
and
right
everybody
hook.
likes you.
Here comes the right hook. He's just setting me up, just peppering me with the jabs.
That's it. Just cut to Bill just doing lines in the bathroom. Just a mess. But, what I'm saying is that, no, I don't buy that you can be very successful and then turn into an asshole. And, you don't know what it's like. No. Lots of people deal with tremendous pressure and are champions.
Wait a minute. You know what I just didn't realize? Because I fucking can't stand compliments because of the way I grew up? I just realized you were trying to compare my fucking going, hey, what's the deal with the president, to winning the Tour de France 7 times in a row. Sheryl Crow's not calling me. Okay?
She should be.
I don't have anybody.
You're a handsome kid.
So, no, this guy, I'm not justifying any behavior here. What I'm saying is, until you've fucking ridden on a bicycle in Paris after coming out of the mountains, no hands on it, drinking your energy drink.
With my hands in the air.
With your little tight shirt unzipped.
You're right.
Feeling that French air on your fucking shaved chest.
With all that testosterone
you have
through my
no
body.
idea. You have no idea what it's like to be that man. So that's what I say. I'm not condoning, but I'm not going to sit here.
You're not going to judge a man because you haven't walked in his shoes. That's what you're saying.
All of these, and also because of all the piece of shit fucking things I've done in my life. I have.
Me too.
Yes.
I'm a degenerate.
Exactly.
I say that to people.
But you're not on a bicycle, so you can judge the degenerate on the bicycle. How dare you, Bryan Callen?
No,
How
here's
dare
the fundamental difference. Let me give you an example.
If I didn't believe in this precious water here, I'd throw it right in your face.
Here's the difference. If I bang a lot of, let's say I'm married, and I bang a lot of girls behind my wife's back, my girlfriend's back. Okay, that's one thing. Now you could say, well, he's got candy thrown at him all day. You don't know the kind of women that come after him. He's got a certain, they take a pro athlete. You don't know what LeBron James deals with on a daily basis. Yes, he's married, but he's got tens thrown up themselves at him 24/7. You deal with that. Okay, now here's the fundamental difference. Ready? He gives one of those girls chlamydia, gonorrhea, or syphilis, and that disease can render that woman barren. She can actually have complications. She'll never be able to have kids. Now, if he doesn't tell that woman that he gave her chlamydia or gonorrhea, that's where he becomes an asshole, because he's hurting somebody else. That's where I draw the line. If you fuck around and you're doing steroids and stuff and somebody's under oath and they say, did you or did you not do drugs with Lance Armstrong? The guy is pressured into saying, I did, otherwise I'm going to go to jail, I'll perjure myself. And Lance Armstrong now hires a bunch of lawyers and comes after you and tries to destroy, and does destroy, your reputation in your life. That's where I go, Lance, you're not an asshole because you fucking took steroids. You're an asshole because you tried to destroy somebody for telling the truth.
All right, but this is my problem with that. You're looking at it very one-dimensional. Okay. Like Lance created the world. Okay? There was so many people, Nike and all those fucking people, who fanned themselves after all this shit came out.
Right.
Okay? God knows, do you think that they've discovered it when you found out? They knew what was going on. The second Bryan Callen, of course not.
They knew.
And how much money did they continue making? How much money did they make? Did they give any of the money back? People made fucking billions off of that guy. That guy was a world famous athlete. He also raised like $500 million for cancer research. There's people walking around alive because of that guy. And it's like what that guy. Okay, and also, all right. Here's the deal, dude. You join a joke writing team, okay? And
Never.
For whatever, just say you do. Yeah. And then there's the talk show host that you're all writing for, and you go in there and you find out that they're stealing jokes and what they're doing is unethical.
Right.
Now, is it just the host's fault? What about you? Where are you at some point where you go like, hey, I didn't get into this job to do this? Like, I just love how he's the only fucking guy who's being held to this moral standard where everybody on his team is a fucking victim. They're big boys. He said, listen, you want to do this, you have to dope. You could easily say, well, I'm not fucking doing that.
Of course, but
I don't want to make it by stealing jokes. And if I had to do that, then fuck it. I'll
Guess what? You wouldn't do that. Bill Burr wouldn't do that.
I
You
wouldn't
might be
do
a,
that.
You might be a dirtbag like I am in some ways, but you wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Would you? I know you wouldn't. I don't even know you,
Yeah.
and I know you wouldn't.
I wouldn't do that, but there's a bunch of other shit that I have done. I'm like you, dude. My fucking female track record is horrific.
Oh my God.
It's horrific.
Yeah.
So, no, the amount of people that I've hurt in that aspect of my life, and just because I'm this,
wish one tear would just come.
and just because I'm good at this one thing,
Sure.
then all of a sudden he's honorable, he has integrity, he's cleaning the ocean. It's like, no, you're looking at me through a very you're looking through
understand.
one blind of the window, and that's all you're seeing, and you're defining me as that, and that's why I'm saying you're going to be fucking disappointed. Trust me.
Listen, we are all flawed. We're all flawed.
We're all
man.
flawed. So fucking get off the guy. He rode a bike. It got out of control. And, he came up. It's going to be a hell of a movie.
Yeah.
All right. And someday he'll be able to redeem himself like Travolta after he did those baby talking movies.
So
He has his Pulp Fiction coming up.
So you're basically saying the pressures were so great that you're not going to criticize me.
No, what I'm saying is that when you're talking about some of the best athletes in the world, like you're talking about this level of competitiveness that sometimes, like,
Creeps into everything.
They can't shut it off.
can't shut it off.
They can't shut it off. And it's something that, like, dude, there's so much shit that I did in my 20s and 30s, and now that I come out the other side, that I now look back on going like,
Yep.
I thought I was 100% right.
Yep.
Not only was I not right, I was 100% wrong, and I owe about 15 I have like 2 more seasons of My Name is Earl. I could
know.
pitch them.
Okay?
So
yeah.
it's like, you're talking about a guy, he came into that sport in his 20s. You're talking about a guy who fucking, lost a ball to cancer. He's facing death or whatever, and it's just like he knows how short life is, and he gets in, he's like, fuck this, I got to make this dream happen. And he shows up in the Thunderdome that it already was.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is how the game's played. So he picked up a shank and he started sticking people. Okay? I'm not condoning any of it, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I have no fucking idea.
The proverbial shank is taking steroids. My problem is you start destroying other people's lives deliberately. You're a piece of shit.
Hey, listen, why don't you fucking email the guy on Twitter?
No, but
and
when
air your
you
things?
talk about...
I'm exhausted
I'll give you
trying
an
to
example.
defend this man
No,
that
but
neither one of us know. Okay?
We don't care. Here's the bottom line. You're right. When I had a girlfriend who showed me a short film, and I dated her 10 years before, showed me a short film, and I watch it, and it was great. And I realized that it's about her on a date with a guy. And I realized that the guy, who's a douchebag, I mean a fucking guy who I wanted to punch in the face, he was literally talking exactly the way I did to her.
Yeah.
And it didn't dawn on me until halfway through the film. And
That
I went,
right there is what makes females so amazing.
amazing.
The
And I
fact that
called her and apologized.
she could sit there for 10 years. Dude, it's like the Count of Monte Cristo. You ever read that book? How fucking long
course.
he sits
He
there
comes
to
back.
plot his revenge.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a book. That guy didn't
Dude,
exist.
That's right.
Women fucking...
She did it.
10 years later, and then I the
I called her.
greatest thing
I
ever...
said I was wrong. I
Greatest thing
apologize.
ever, probably presented it as this gift. You probably had, flowers in your eyes going, oh, wow, maybe, and you're probably in your dick's going, maybe one more time.
One more
And
time.
all that type of shit. And then she just catches you,
Right there with a
that
left.
fucking sandbag.
With a left
Yep,
hook.
and you felt like Pacquiao in the last fight.
I sure did. I could. I fell with my hands in my lap on my face.
Yep, like a toddler.
Oh.
Not aware of its hands yet.
I called her up. I said, listen, I can't believe I referred to you as a thoroughbred. I'm a scumbag. I mean, the guy looked like me.
Wait a minute. What's wrong with that?
It's just the way I said it. I was like, I was giving her advice on diet. I mean, I was just a douchebag. If I could go back now and
Are you
just
like a
meet
date
myself.
rapist personal trainer?
No, I wasn't.
Frat boy
I wasn't,
personal trainer?
No, I wasn't muscular enough. I was just a shithead who thought I was right. I just thought I was right about everything.
All right.
I thought I'd figured it out. And I look back, I just needed me to go back now and slap my face with an open hand for about 20 minutes. Or just punch myself in the stomach good and
Yeah,
hard.
in between each slap, you got to pepper with, no, you're still not getting it. As you talk to your 20-year-old self, who's going to argue. My 20-something-year-old self would literally argue with the 45-year-old
it
me.
would.
It's
What
like,
would you-
dude, I'm you.
What would
I'm
you say to yourself?
No, you're not seeing it.
What would you say to yourself? I mean, what were the mistakes?
I would be like, dude, you know how many great women you're going to miss out on because you're angry, and anger scares women away,
yeah.
and it attracts
What were you angry
damaged
about?
people. Oh, dude, what is this, fucking Oprah?
No, I'm curious.
What do you think? You've talked to enough comics, basically.
You're different. You're not a regular guy.
Haven't you seen enough overlap in both of us in our flaws? What is this episode's going to be called?
I love it.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Well, you have a shitload of fans, and a lot of people look up to you, man, and that's a fact. Young people, young guys. I mean, and so I don't know if we have anything to teach. That's for sure. It's, you learn through experience, but I find myself looking back on my life and thinking about what the fuck I would do. I don't know if I learn any other way than being a fucking douchebag.
I think your 20s and 30s is basically, you're basically taking your childhood out on the world.
Yeah.
And then hopefully somewhere around 33 to 35, this is basically how it happened for me. You start to be like, oh, wait a second. And then the next frustrating 7 years is just sort of watching yourself like, oh, here I am in this situation again. Oh, I said that again. I'm doing that. It's almost like you can't even control, because it's this
pattern recognition.
It's this worn-in groove,
yeah.
And you just fall into it like rainwater, just going right down the spout. And I'm still at that point now where I'm really trying to, like yesterday, I was watching the Patriots game, and we were losing to the Carolina. We were winning.
Cam Newton's the real deal.
And they were coming. Oh yeah, because he won a regular season game against a tattered defense.
Can you explain to me?
He had his comeback.
Can you explain to me that call in the end?
Does anybody crown somebody a king more than ESPN in the regular season?
I know.
How many crowns do they have in that walk-in closet? But he's the real deal. He's the real deal.
Explain to me that last call, that PI, the guy tackled. He tackled.
This is why. Because someone not involved in that offense stepped in and picked off the ball. So behind.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, the one thing that I would say is that offense was happening beforehand.
Okay.
But I got to be honest with you, with the balance of penalties so shifted into the receiver's favor, I actually like the call, and I'm a Patriots fan. I think that, they used to say, hitting the curveball was the most difficult thing in professional sports. Yeah. I would say now covering a receiver.
No doubt.
And
guys,
the guy in the 49ers, I mean, he made a Lawrence Taylor play. They needed a big play. He came in, He sacked the quarterback, caused a fumble, fell on the ball, game over. He didn't hit him in the head. He wasn't targeting a defenseless player. And now it's just like, oh, but he tackled him too hard. He got him in the neck area too hard, and I understand it, because that watching Tony Dorsett struggling
so sad.
Was breaking my heart to see that, and I don't want that to happen to anybody.
That's turning me off the football a little bit, to be honest with you.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, you're definitely thinking like they were talking about a guy last night who came back, or yesterday, maybe it was Sunday. They were talking about a guy who came back real quick from 2 concussions, and you're just sitting there like. That's that being young and feeling invincible.
It's not a good ending. I don't like seeing these men who give everything they have and they sacrifice their brain. I have a problem with it, and it has soured me a little bit to the game. I'll admit.
Go
back to what you were saying.
What it really is the equipment has gotten too good. The equipment is beyond what the human body can take. And I play a little bit of pickup hockey and stuff, and I got to tell you, the equipment that they have now, dude. Like, if you've ever skated and fell on ice with nothing on, dude, God. It's like jumping out of a car. It's like falling off the hood of a car.
Give.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
It's elbows, knees, back, whiplash, all of that. Well, I guess whiplash can still happen with pads, but when you're wearing all of the pads, dude, the first time you fall down, because
you feel like you're on a bed.
Exactly,
in a pillow fight.
It's like. It doesn't feel like you hit something, but the biggest thing, the great equalizer is your brain.
Yeah,
because
it's an egg in a shell.
If you fall the wrong way, like I was just mentioning this to Lawhead yesterday on his podcast, where I was playing, and it was one of those deals where I was going forwards, and all of a sudden it was a turnover. So you quickly shift around, but you keep your forward momentum and you bring it back. So I was flying, and I was. And, I'm not that good, so my skating forward ability is not as good as my skating backwards.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm a pond hockey guy, so now I've just started playing pickup games where you actually have to be able to stick handle a little more properly. And so my momentum, I couldn't handle it. I was doing a crossover, something like that, and I just basically, I didn't even hit my head. I fell down on my ass, and then I put my elbows down, and like it was, as you're falling down like a tree. So my ass hit, and then my elbows hit, and then I stopped my body, and my head just whiplashed back,
not a good feeling.
and then the brain slams against the back of the head, and then the front of the head, dude. And I was like seriously kind of fucked up for a second, and nobody even hit me. So I can't imagine, this is a stand-up comedian. The brain can't handle a stand-up comedian falling, skating backwards in a pickup hockey game. Can you imagine the brain handling a professional football player's hit? So I understand the flag in the Saints game, but as a fan of the game, and watching the way it was played for so long, it's very confusing. It's like up is becoming down in a way, and you get that scared old man feeling like everything's changing. It's not the way it was.
Well, as you learn more about stuff, it's like it's kind of like when they're finding that serial killers and certain people have brain damage. They have an amygdala that doesn't flood with the right cortisol and dopamine and things, and they just don't feel.
Slow down. What?
I know.
What?
I'm very intelligent, but as they start to be able to medicalize.
No, but what is that? Is that like some sort of arteries not pumping?
The amygdala is I think the almond-shaped part of the brain that apparently registers emotions and stuff. With serial killers,
I thought we all have that, and then it builds around it. And
we have that, but serial killers and people who are really criminals and stuff like that, a lot of times will have a smaller amygdala, one that doesn't work properly. They just have different brains.
They're basically a lemon if they were a car.
They're a fucking lemon.
Yeah, they're a lemon.
Then that raises the question of what does it
that
say?
Can make decisions. It's like Carrie.
Exactly.
She's just shaking her head over there.
Exactly. But it's true. And then, so what does that say about, as you learn more, what does that say about putting them in jail or putting them in the hospital, right? I mean, if you're that fucked up, if your brain's
you just got to put them down. Like, I think everyone from just sociopaths, just you put them down like a rabid dog. Same thing with like what they're doing in Vietnam with those corrupt bankers. These guys got caught embezzling $25 million and they're being put to death. And I am 100% for that.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And it does that make us as bad as them? No. Makes us heroes.
He's an asshole.
It makes you a hero to that old person that fought in a fucking war and earned their money and now has to eat Alpo and go get a fucking job sweeping up McDonald's.
I couldn't agree more.
So this cunt can have a yacht. They should be put down.
I agree with
publicly in the street wearing a little top hat.
Wearing a Lance Armstrong.
One of those little
wearing a Lance Armstrong
monocles.
Why a monocle?
I want him to dress like the Penguin, and they go wah wah wah, and then you shoot him.
And then you shoot him.
Makes him less human.
Dehumanize him first.
There you go.
I'm right there with you. A child rapist and those guys. Why?
Over.
I don't want to pay for their.
Dude,
fucking...
what could somebody do to you to make you not attracted to what you're already attracted to? Is there something that they could do to make you like whatever type of woman you're into? It's like what you're attracted to is what you're attracted to.
I know.
It's how you're fucking wired.
That's right.
It's why it's stupid when people say being gay is a choice. Right. It isn't. It's completely natural. Exactly. It's how that person is wired, and they are reacting to it, and they're not fucking hurting anybody.
Exactly.
So leave them alone.
Exactly.
Now, if what you're attracted to is hurting somebody or the way you execute the sexual act, you need to be removed.
Right. You should fucking die.
Yeah. There's only so much fresh water left.
There's a guy who likes to hurt. This guy, my friend's a psychiatrist, and he said he had a guy come in and talk about how he has an urge to hurt animals.
Yeah, you're done. You're done. You're over.
It's the same thing as, trying to hurt a child and stuff. I don't want you around. I don't want that gene
replicating.
Around.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're done.
Go fuck yourself.
Done.
But you were talking before
and
this.
I hate about people like that is like, well, when you start something like that, then where does it end? I'd say, torturing dogs. I think I definitely see a finite end to that.
Yeah. Well, that's what somebody said one time. It's like, well, everything is, how do you know it's all contextual? Child abuse? No, it's not. Child abuse is evil, and if you abuse children, go fuck yourself. God, we've solved a lot of problems already on this podcast.
And how are we solving them? With violence, which I think needs to come back.
When
we return.
I got hit as a kid. I mean, I deserved it. Smacked in the ass, and my mother just couldn't deal with it.
What they call that? What kind of punishment? Corporal?
Yeah, corporal.
Yeah, I had that.
Whatever. My mother took a riding crop to my fucking legs because I would swear, and I was impossible, fucking impossible. Whacked me with a
foreshadowing to the small film, that little short film that you saw.
And now this is how I deal.
She should have hit you with one of those director things, one of those director hats or something.
With a ruler.
No, foreshadowing the movie. I fucked up. I thought for a second they had those riding crop things. I realized halfway through it, no, that's a jockey.
My dad gave me a whack because I hit my sister one time. I deserved it. I fucking made my sister cry because I whacked her. My dad goes, "What'd you do? You do this?" And he hit me. And I was like, he's not a child abuser, but I fucking deserved it. And I have a great relationship with my dad now.
My mother had a paddle that my dad saved from his fraternity days.
Oh,
and she would line all of us up.
Yep.
And just swing away. That was one of my first bits.
No,
great. I don't look back on any of that punishment with anger.
Me neither.
Ever.
Me neither.
What I look back on with anger is my ability, like the lack of being able to express, I'm not happy. This, like you just had to sit there and shut the fuck up. Like that really, that would be like the
That's not what you'll do with your kids, in other words.
yeah, when you
You're told to be quiet. It's very Irish, by the way.
what yeah,
Shh, not
yeah.
you. Middle
But
class.
but I've come to the piece of, every generation improves. So what I went through was an improve, like, you keep the good stuff that your parents did, and then stuff that upset you. Hopefully you're viewing it correctly, and you're not just selfish, and that you're actually viewing that was wrong, right? And then you try to eliminate that. So I just look at my childhood as that was an improvement on whatever they went through, and then a lot of my my anger. It's weird. It's like it's gone.
Yeah.
In my day-to-day life, I don't walk around seething the way I was, where I can literally feel my insides like being corrupted.
Because what, you weren't allowed to express yourself as a kid.
Yeah, but now it comes out when somebody cuts me off in traffic. I get, as that childhood anger comes back, and I come off like a fucking maniac. And like, I don't know, as I do more and more specials, like people just sit there and they're like, wow, I'm really surprised that you're like how I'm talking to you right now, that I have, like, they just think I walk around like, what's up with water bottles? Fuck!
Yeah.
But it is an hour-long commercial of that I'm advertising about myself, so I have no one to blame but me. So.
Yeah, but you know what?
My next special,
seminal moment for you, I remember when you did the Opie and Anthony thing in Philly, and Eddie Ifft had me watch what you did to that crowd. You're like, I ironed my shirt for this, you fucking scumbags, you racist fucks. You got a statue to a boxer. He's not even a real boxer, you racist bastard. I hope you get fucked by a bunch of black guys on your way to your car. I mean, you went off on them, 1 minute.
Right.
That was a huge thing for you, right? A huge bump in sort of popularity, or?
I think that was like a fellows getting props from fellow comics and comedy nerds.
Okay.
And then there was other people that didn't understand it.
When did you
and
notice
they were like, oh, he likes getting booed. So I would do shows and people would start to, yeah.
Oh, God.
Just like they'd pretend to boo me, and then I was supposed to pretend to get mad. And
well, how would you deal with that?
However I dealt with it. But there was a second there for like a gig or two where I was like, oh my God, did I just end my career?
Oh,
that I just turn into, if I don't come out and smash the watermelon with the hammer, they don't feel like they got a show. But then I realized, like, oh, wait a minute, these were big venues. I was on that Opie and Anthony tour where it is that I immediately went to the Punchline in San Francisco where you can see to the back of the club, and it's like, wait, I can see you fuckers.
I like the Punchline.
But when you do those, those radio tours, I mean, Opie and Anthony, they would draw in 10,000 people. So if you're sitting in row fucking Triple H or whatever the hell, you can do whatever you want. You can yell the entire. There's nothing I can't see you. Yeah. It's you're sitting on lawn seats. You can be very brave. It's sort of like the halfway point between the comedy club and being on Twitter. The bravery people have on the internet.
It's so true, because you can be anonymous.
You really are anonymous.
When did you notice a shift in your? You kind of took a huge jump though in popularity. When was that, and why?
No, I think I've had a very gradual.
Oh yeah.
It's been very incremental, and I have to be honest, it's the only way I could have handled it.
Sure.
Like I couldn't handle the, I've seen a couple guys have that meteoric rise, and they both handled it well, and I was pretty blown away. Like, wow, man, I don't think.
Who were those guys? Tosh and.
No, I would say watching Dane and Kevin Hart. Both of them going up to like literally.
I love Kevin. I just did a movie with him.
Like I opened for Dane one time, and I'm looking up, and I'm looking at like a Stanley Cup banner, and I was like, this is fucking insane. Yeah. Crazy. This is insane. And,
in a stadium.
And I started out with him, and I'm watching him on stage, and he was way better than he was in the open mic days, but he was still that kid that I met. He was like 19, I think, and I was like 23 when we first ran into each other at this place, Stitches Comedy Club, that doesn't exist anymore in Boston. And it was just sort of like what I got such a kick out of watching him up there, I was just going like, this is essentially the same thing as like when we did like this place Kelly's in North Reading, the first place I ever bombed. I think it was called Kelly's, I can't remember, but it was just like you're going on a stage and you have your jokes and you're just trying to make people laugh. It's just grown to
just more people know
mezzanine and upper deck status. It was really,
but in a way you pay a price for it. It's not as fun as doing an intimate club sometimes. Like I always find that the bigger the crowd, in some ways you don't get that same, I don't know, that intimacy. You can kind of, with a really
Well, that was the brilliance that he did. He put the stage in the middle. Because I said to him, I go, Dane, what's the fucking deal here? And he goes, dude, it's just 4 theaters. It's no big deal. And then that was such a brilliant concept to
Yeah.
me. So when you're looking out, it was still, dude, 4 giant fucking theaters, but it's still, you were able to sort of like tackle the problem as opposed to just being like, feeling like you were the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the entire, whatever the fucking proper word is, galaxy was going around you. You kind of were able to break it down to.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
I thought that was a very, and then also for the fan experience, you've now cut off the ring and everybody is closer.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's got a
like I
PC.
found his gig easier to do than sometimes I've done gigs where they're, on like some benefits and there'll be 6,000 people and they stick the stage all the way to one side.
Right.
And you just feel, it's like you tell the joke and it's got to go all the way back.
Yeah.
And then the laugh has to come and you have to pace yourself. And it's be one thing if you're doing them every night.
Yeah.
But
the laughter's rolling. It kind of rolls.
So it becomes like that thing where you kind of have to like, you got to like slow down.
I spoke to about this it was one of my highlights of my life. I went backstage to a Springsteen concert and talked to Springsteen for an hour and a half about how he writes songs, the acoustics in a room, why he likes the LA Coliseum way more than the Staples Center, and just how he
Why did he like that better?
Just steel, cement, smaller, more democratic in people get to come in, and if you're a real fan, you'll get closer to the stage. And he's not like, in the Staples Center, he's facing the boxes, like eye level, and the people. You just, if you have money, you can get a better seat. And he just didn't like that. And at the end of the day, he can feel the music and the audience in a structure that's made of steel and cement. Acoustically, it's just more of an intimate feel. And what was really fun for me is I kind of understood what he was talking about a little bit, because acoustics and rhythm and those old school. If I go into a lot of times I'll go into a club, and if nowadays they make them with really high ceilings, I don't like it as much. I like low ceilings.
Are they doing that now?
Yeah, and it reminds me of like New York. I love the low ceiling, like the comic strip and those, stand-up New York, those places that I started in, where
because then you can feel the crowd more. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you see yourself doing stand-up the rest of your life?
Oh, absolutely.
Me too.
I'm a lifer. Without a doubt, I'm a lifer. I always say I act when they let me, because I don't have any control over whether you're going to pick me or not.
It's true.
So like I have a tremendous amount of respect for working actors that they are, and I don't judge any of them when they do a movie that ends up being bad.
Right.
Because it's like, A, you got to work, and B, there's also like you have so little control. Like what the little acting that I've done.
So many moving parts.
With the little acting I've done, what I realize is the words have to be there. You got to have the director, you got to have the editor, and you have to have the proper music and mood underneath it. And if all of that comes together, like they're gonna make you look unbelievable. And that would be Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad.
You were on the best show. In some ways,
all I had to do, dude, was know what they told me to say, and then stop where they told me to stop. Just hit my marks, and they made you look like an absolute.
Well,
I got more acting work because they were so good at their jobs over there.
Well, but you didn't. I didn't see you acting, and that was a big deal. Like one of the things
It's because I can't.
Well, but that's a hard thing to do, bro. That's a hard thing to do, because what you were doing was you were very real, and a lot of people can't do that. In fact, a lot of people go to school for a long time to do that. That's one of the things I noticed. I mean, I've seen every episode, and I think
I can equate that to comedy. I can give you the parallel. It's in comedy. Okay, what happens in acting? The little I know about it is you have to block out that you're acting.
Right.
Because what happens is when you start thinking, like what you're doing with your hands there is fucking interesting. Okay? But you're not even thinking about that you're doing that. So like when you go to do a scene, like, and if you're eating something, it becomes like, how do I eat this? And that's why, like, I hate watching actors eat, because they overact the act of eating. Like they start pointing with the bread and talking. Nick,
they've worked it out.
Yeah. So Nick Kroll did a hilarious short film that kind of touched on that, and I absolutely loved it. It was this gangster thing, and they just kept putting more and more food in their mouths as they were talking, and it was just complete. And they're threatening each other.
He's a silly goose, that guy.
Dude, he's a fucking genius.
Yeah.
And like the food became more exotic and ridiculous when it was, and I loved it. So I think that what you can do in like, and especially in comedy. Like if you're in like a comedy, there's Like I saw something recently where there was a scene where a guy, he picked up a condom. He didn't realize it was a condom, and he picked it up, and then he went, ah, and then he threw it to his buddy, and then he caught it, and he caught the thing, and then looked at it like, ah, and he's looking at it going, ah, like you wouldn't do that in real life. First of all, the second somebody picks someone and goes, ah, and throws it at you, the comedy is you getting the fuck out of the way.
That's exactly right.
So, and that
like
plays,
it's a bumblebee coming to sting you. You've
that
got
plays
like a condom.
way real. So I would try to get the fuck out of the way, and then when it missed me, I would then punch the other guy in the shoulder. Well, don't fucking throw it at me. And that's like, in like,
you're reacting.
Because that to me is real comedy. Real comedy to me is watching something that if I was experiencing it, it wouldn't be funny.
Look at Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason was not trying to be comic. Jackie Gleason was reacting to a tragedy in his life. Everything was going to shit, and he was about to lose his fucking mind.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he was joking. When he's saying, Alice, one of these days, right to the moon, he meant it. He's like, I want to fucking hit you so bad, but I can't do it.
Nuts. And
driving
you saw
him nuts.
Like, he would do those looks like, I
They
swear
called
to
him
God.
the great one. They called him the great one because he was able to do that, and that's exactly right.
So here's the comedy analogy, because the big, like, the holy grail that is like finding your voice. I got to find my voice. I need to have a fucking point of view. And my argument is, when you walk into a club for your first open mic, you already have your voice. And then you go on stage and you lose it because you're going on stage and it's this, before you did comedy, you were in bars and you were acting shit out and you were making your friends laugh and everything. You were 100% comfortable.
That's right.
You weren't worried about getting heckled or anything. So then now you go onto a comedy stage and all of a sudden there's a mic stand, there's lights on you. It's this completely artificial conversation. So then you go into this, now I am doing stand-up, and then your voice goes away. Yeah. And then you spend fucking 8, 10, 12, 16 years trying to get back to being the fucking guy that you were when you came in. And all it is just being comfortable like you were with your friends in the bar. And then your magical point of view, like, what do I think of things? It's like, well, what are you thinking? The amount of times I've been in a fucking green room and a comic will say something to me and I'll be like, dude, that is fucking hilarious. You got to do that on stage. And then what do they go? Oh, that's not me. That's not what I do. It's like, dude, that is you.
That is you. You just did it. You just did it.
Presented the subject, you thought it, and you said it. That is you. That thing you're doing on stage is you doing.
I was just talking about
you doing stand-up.
I was just talking about this. I said, I don't even write. When I write, I don't even try to write funny. I just ask myself questions like, what am I ashamed of? Who am I pretending to be? Who do I wish I was?
What am I afraid of?
What am I afraid of? I go in. Those are the questions I ask, and then somehow the comedy finds its way through. And somebody said, I used Jeremy Piven in my last special, and he goes, don't you have to warm up? Because I was going to go out there. I go, don't you have to get your head together? I go, bro, I've been doing this long enough, so I just, whatever I'm feeling, I'm going to use.
Right.
I've never, you lose that after a while. That's kind of where you start to arrive at the notion that I think I'm more natural on stage in some ways than I am. If anything, I got to get my energy going because sometimes.
Right. No, because then you can go.
You get too comfortable. Too comfortable.
Yeah, you become you just eating some Raisin Bran.
Exactly. Too fucking lazy. Which is why it's important to keep writing and come up with new stuff all the time.
Yeah, you gotta, but you gotta keep it in. I'm trying to make my friends laugh at the bar. You can't be like, wow, everything I say is scootily. It's all funny here. Yeah, no. Then you start eating.
On the ball.
You start eating your balls. Yeah, exactly.
I do that too. I'll write things that I know are gonna work, but like I'm like, that's a trick. I'm not doing that. I just or I'll do it and a little part of me dies and I got to go back to being.
You know what? I have a great shit joke and I've been doing it and I for some reason can't put it in a special, but I really.
You love it.
I do love it. And what I love about it too is it's funny without me saying shit.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What is the joke? Can you say it or no?
It's basically it's built around the myth of the courtesy flush. And atmosphere and all kinds of things like that, and how to properly do a courtesy flush. So it's basically, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna do. I don't know that I would put that like that, but I don't want to burn the bit here on this because it's so much. It's fun to do, and I'm sitting there, and it's one of the things that I love the most about Chappelle.
Yeah,
is Chappelle will have like some social commentary, and he will follow it up with something as silly,
right,
as like a shit joke and everything, and that's why he's not the political guy. He's not this guy. He's Chappelle.
Right.
Like when you go to see Chappelle, you're getting Chappelle.
Well, who are your favorite comics, or who are the ones? Who are the comics that, maybe even who are the actors? Who are the comics? Who are the writers that kind of, I don't know, you look up to?
Well, other than the obvious, the comics that
Carlin and those guys. Yeah,
Carlin, Kinnison was huge for me.
really.
Kinnison was huge for me during that window where he was becoming famous before he gave into the temptations of being famous.
There's a famous story. Rodney Dangerfield sees him. He's doing blow. He's got this chick on his lap, and he's got his shirt open. And Rodney Dangerfield walks in and goes, "Oh, look, everybody, Nero."
I don't even get that because I don't read.
Nero was basically burned Rome. He was the Roman emperor who was sort of the signified the fall of the Roman Empire. He was just debauchery and just fucking murdered people just on a whim and just disgusting and stuck feathers down his throat, threw up and ate more. And he represented everything that was the
I bet
appetites.
that hit home for him. If that's a true story, I bet that hit home for him because he was the guy that took him on. Dangerfield obviously launched so many guys, but it was what I liked about him, during that window before, he was, I don't know, before he just was adjusting to being famous, was the honesty and the not afraid of silence and his command of like he had such a powerful voice, and when he got command of it, there's a great YouTube clip of him before he hit, where I think he's dressed all in black. He's not wearing the hat. He might even have like these black like driving gloves or some shit on. And I love watching it because he's blowing out the screaming. Like my wife's like, "Oh my God, shut it off, shut it off." And it's like, no, this is so interesting because what you're watching him is taking it. How far can I take it?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna dial it back. Like this is like the last. This is like the NFC championship game before he goes to the Super Bowl, and you start seeing him on the Dangerfields, and he did that thing down at the Roxy, his half-hour special or hour, whatever it was. He had such command of it, and then he was just his point of view and he was so unique, the way he and it just unbelievably powerful.
Did you get into this stand-up, trying to be a stand-up?
Now, the guy I saw, before I forget, is a guy that passed away, was a guy, Frankie Bastille. I only saw him one time, and he was the first guy I ever saw just talking on stage.
Frankie Bastille.
Was fucking unbelievable.
Really?
He
never heard of him.
Marin knows him. Talk to Marin about him. Marin knows him. Dude, he was up there, and he did a bit, and I was in Boston. Boston was all set up, punch, rapid fire, just textbook fucking stand-up. Go up there and absolutely level. Fuck the guy next to you. Fuck the headliner that came in from out of town. Yeah. Make him earn it. Like it was just fucking type A.
You learn how to fucking.
Yeah. You learn how to kill in Boston, and that's how it was back then, anyways. So he was the first guy I saw come in just talking, and he couldn't see the jokes, and he did this joke about how if he wasn't going to be a comedian, he would drive a bread truck. And he just started talking about driving this bread truck, and it was fucking hilarious.
It sounds already like a great bit.
I didn't even know why, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'd come over that hill in that fucking bread truck," and he just was speaking with such passion.
I got a Frankie Bastille.
Yeah. There's very
down.
Little. Dude, like there's a story I heard about him where, he had a major substance abuse problem, and. You should really talk to Marin because Marin knows way more about it than I do. But, one of the rumors I heard, I haven't confirmed it, but like he had a falling out with, like he would stay in like the comedy condo, and he would be like selling the TV for drugs. They'd come back and all his shit was gone. So he pissed off so many people.
Some people fuck up so royally. They fuck up so colossally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But this is I so want this to be true. So the story I heard, try to confirm it with Marin. I think I did. I can't remember. But he allegedly, he burned every bridge with every comedy club. He couldn't get any work. And then, like, he finds out he has cancer. So he calls everybody up. They tell him he has cancer, blah, blah, blah. So they feel bad for him. So they start booking the guy, and he doesn't have long to live. And they're booking and they're booking and booking. And about a year and a half in, they realize that he's not getting sick.
He doesn't have cancer.
He didn't have cancer.
What a dick.
And he was doing the same shit. He was going there and he was doing drugs and he was selling shit out of the condos and borrowing money and not paying people.
Junkies will do anything.
And it took him about a year and a half to figure out this guy isn't getting sick. He's not sick. And I would just love to have been on those phone calls, club owner to club owner, Is he coughing? I mean, what is it? I mean, fucking come in. The goddamn couch is gone. This guy better be fucking dead by December. I'm not booking him. It's just one of those. Like
that's a classic example of like the kind of fraternity. Like as a comic,
yeah,
you'll at least brush up against. You know, it's.
But
a
he
rare
was,
thing.
dude. He was. I mean, stumbling around the club, knocking over chairs, like literally movie high.
Yeah.
Like he is. I'm like, is that an act? And he was that fucking gone. And he went up there, dude. And it was just like, he just captivated the whole room. I remember we was at the Comedy Connection and when it was at Faneuil Hall, and there was, it was on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and there wasn't a lot of people there, and it was like everybody else was doing this one thing, and he was doing this other thing, and this show just went vertical and just went right out into space. Like it was like that much of a technological. We were like all Kitty Hawk, just sitting there pedaling a fucking plane up there doing our little bits. And he went there, and it just was super
so inspiring
when
you see that
it
stuff.
It was, and I remember that. Maron was another guy. I remember like there was sets that burned in my brain.
Well, Mark was always just so smart. I remember watching Mark literally 20 years ago, and he was just painfully funny and smart. He would just come up with stuff.
I saw him at the New York Comedy Club. I still remember a set he did there. I saw Joe Rogan in Aspen, where I fucked up your intro a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's great.
That one burned into my brain.
Oh, when Rogan did that, he used to do that tiger bit. I want to be a tiger. You ever see that?
Oh my God, that was insane.
My God. He used to destroy rooms. I wasn't even doing stand up then. I was just trying to be a fucking actor. And
it's one of the greatest performance pieces. He sounds like a fucking tiger.
Oh my God!
And then
I'll show you a video on my phone of him fucking being a bear and a Rottweiler. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. His ability, nobody knows this about Rogan. His ability to do like characters and accents and animals is
It's insane.
None, yeah,
and insane. And like when he gets in and doing that, like he has that Kinnison level power.
Yeah.
Who else did I see? I saw. Who was that fucking? I've been doing this so long, man. I
know.
There was a lot that I saw. Like when I had this advantage that headliners would come through. Regan came through.
He was great.
Oh my God!
But what for you
was great. He still is.
Yeah, he's great.
Still is.
But for you, you get to a point with stand-up where you get so in touch with what you're doing, and writing becomes easier in a way. Just in that you just tap into what you're thinking about, and you trust yourself more, and you can come up with bits, and you're trying them out.
Right.
But do you think that challenge, or do you think that will that you'll need more? Is there something you want to do? Like, you ever think about? I don't know. My idea is always to try to be as original as I can, surprise myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just find if you're living like people think to get better is just 100%. I got to get on stage. I got to get on stage. I think that's true when you're younger, when you're getting new to it. But then there becomes you have to flesh out a life. You got to have some. You got to go away from it for a little bit. I learned that from Patrice. Patrice would take time off. He would take big chunks of time off. We used to give him shit. The only guy needs a 6-week vacation from a 5-week vacation, he just wouldn't come around, and he would come back and wouldn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
He's the best I ever saw.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know Patrice, but he sat me down with Dov Davidoff one time and spoke about his philosophy on how to deal with women. And it was very interesting, man. There was a lot of truth to it. He was a very smart guy.
That's all of what you're saying is like beyond an understatement.
Yeah.
Beyond an understatement.
Yeah, I didn't know him. I didn't know him too.
Yeah, he was an experience, that guy. But
speaking of which, by the way, I don't know if what you're doing on November 29th and 30th, but you should come to Utah to Wise Guys because I'm doing stand up there.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah. So
that was in the trades this morning.
Yeah.
You know?
The people
It's
kind
funny.
of freak out. I was rated.
They were going to put Tom Cruise on the front. And they're like,
know.
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Callen is.
I know.
He's in Utah.
The Vatican picked up the story, and it's crazy.
Are they still offended, or have you guys?
I'm a saint now, which is so weird. I didn't ask for it, but I'm the saint of comedy or whatever.
And you got to show up for that ceremony. That's brutal.
and the Mormons now are like, come to Wise Guys in November 29th and 30th. I'm not promoting the date. I just know I'll be there. And if you want to come by and see what I'm
Well, you've always been an ambassador.
Thank you.
For comedy.
I appreciate that. I hear that. I don't want that. I don't want that weight on my
look,
shoulders.
You stay at the Embassy Suites.
I do stay there. I book my own fucking hotels now, actually. It's worth spending the extra money. And I rent a car and I drive around.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Where are you next? Where are you going? Where can the people see
I'm in
you?
gun waving New Haven, as they call it.
Gun waving New Haven. What you doing a theater?
Yeah, I don't know what it is offhand. It's this Saturday. I'm going to the Harvard-Yale game because I want to know who the next 4 presidents are going to be. And then, and then after that, I have this fucking awesome tour. 9 cities, 9 countries, going through Europe.
No kidding.
Yep, starting in London, and I end up in Iceland. Go as far as Helsinki.
Amazing. Isn't it funny how you have fans overseas now?
Yeah, well, I've worked it, dude. I've gone over there a number of times. I read their emails and shit as much as I can.
Really?
Try
Well,
to
where have you gone? I mean, you started developing these.
I've toured Scandinavia.
How is Scandinavia?
Helsinki.
Did you stand up? They get everything?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, my fault. When I go over there, I just act like I'm here. Yeah. I did that whole like mind fucking myself on stage. Like I was in England and I got panicked. Do they have squirrels here? I panicked. It turns out we have bigger, more aggressive squirrels, and they have these little red ones, little ginger squirrels. But they know what a squirrel is.
Yeah, the Brits love their comedy, man. And they're great audiences.
Oh, they're
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then I love Scotland and Ireland. Like those, like, I feel like London is like Manhattan. This is my little knowledge, and I feel like when I go to Ireland and Scotland, like those are the guys I grew up with.
That's right.
Like you just want to go out drinking, you know?
Right.
And they're funny as fucking hell.
Yeah.
And
are you 100% Irish?
no, I'm actually mostly German.
Okay.
I'm German, Irish, Scottish.
All the
and,
you don't tan well is the
and
point.
then-
You don't tan properly.
And I have very little tolerance for human beings.
That's Bill
Believe me,
Burr, ladies and gentlemen.
I have my own philosophies.
I love
I
it.
have my final solutions.
You're a breath of fresh air.
I talk to them. Yeah, I have my final solutions for bankers and
Yeah.
pedophiles.
Yeah.
You know.
Not a bad thing. I think I see eye to eye with you on all that stuff.
But if that philosophy runs wild, then I get caught up in that fishnet.
You can have kids?
Yeah.
We shouldn't talk about that. Though.
I
You
should.
know, freaks.
I should. I should have a kid.
Well, you're the
You know
man.
what I mean?
I appreciate you coming on the.
I need something to blame.
Will you
God.
come back every day?
If I ever
Is
have a
that
kid
possible?
and he takes that soundbite, it'll be just with the technology, you'll be able to pull it out of the air.
Well, I'm writing.
Really, Dad?
I write
What
a
about
bit.
this? And he just moves his index finger.
I write a bit about my daughter not being a good dancer, and she's 5, and
Don't do
it
that.
kills. I know. And the thing is, do I put it on my special? It's
Who's a good
contextual.
dancer at 5? Michael
I know.
Jackson?
I know exactly, but it's funny. The way I do it is funny. But
Little baby James Brown?
I spend a lot of time staring at my kids and being their audience. That's important. I think that, it goes back to what you were talking about.
And then what? You write like a New York Times review of
exactly.
what they just
of
did?
what they just did. No, I think it's important
My
to be
daughter
seen, to be seen
woefully
and heard.
miscast and eating cereal.
Woefully. I love the way the New York Times is just so incredibly politically correct with their language.
But I like them as far as like when you open that page and they have like a little blurb about around the world, like before the internet, you could just go do that. I loved that aspect
I read the New York
of it.
Times every day.
Oh, I don't.
That's how I keep my edge. You didn't know who Nero was, so obviously
No.
you're not a big
Listen,
Roman.
if you don't have a good
historian.
sports page, you're not a newspaper in my world. If I can't just flip it over,
You're straight up Sox Patriots fan, right?
Bruins, I'm all the Boston stuff. I'm mainly a
That's why you knew who Steve
Bruins.
Rogan was.
I'm a mainly Bruins is the number one. I'm loving the Patriots this year because we're
Working with scraps.
Yeah, and Tom Brady is having one of his greatest years, and all these idiots on like ESPN and these places are like, "Oh, last year he threw for this, and now he's got that."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, look what he's throwing to.
He's such a
He
winner.
is willing this team
It's incredible.
to fucking win, and they keep thinking like when people beat the Patriots, they're beating this Super Bowl team. The only guys with rings left, I think, are Belichick and Brady.
I know.
Everybody else is
But
gone.
why'd they get rid of Welker? Explain that to me.
Well, they already. I mean, I wasn't there, but they had already had a falling out. Like he got sour when I remember a few years ago when we gave him the franchise tag, and then he got disciplined before the Jets game because he made all those feet jokes about
Right.
Rex Ryan.
Right.
And I think if I had to guess, I mean, it usually does come down to money, but those types of things didn't help. But there's a lot of Patriot fans that are sitting there going. Oh, we should have kept him, and this, that, and the other thing. And I had a buddy, my Forrest Shaw, comedian, made a great point, saying, well, he was never the guy that they keyed on. So he would have been the number one receiver. If a guy like Sherman goes up against
Yeah, it's
Welker,
true.
I mean, come on.
It's true.
So he was able to.
He was just that gnat, that thorn in your side. What about Welker? Where the fuck is
Well,
he?
dude, I got to tell you, like, I don't think that guy and this has nothing to do with his game because he should be in the NFL. I don't think that guy plays in the NFL in the 80s. There was no place for him. The way the rules of passing were and what you could do as a corner and his size and everything.
You mean he would have gotten creamed?
They would have beat him up.
Wow.
They would have beat him up. And
that's interesting. That's a very interesting point.
Yeah, well, that's the thing now. Like when this, like he broke one of Jerry Rice's records. This is how much the game has changed.
It's crazy.
He broke a record that was like, I think it was the most 14 yard, 14 catches in a game or something like that.
Well, he was just always out and those button hooks and all those.
Exactly, and he did it. He beat Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice's career yards are like 21,000. Welker caught up to him, only catching like 8,500 yards worth of passes. He broke a Jerry Rice record, and they're going, I'll tell you, anytime you get mentioned in the same sentence with Jerry Rice, you gotta, that's really saying something. It's what it's really saying, and I'm not like, Welker is the shit, but I'm just saying is the way the game has changed. They went from 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and now they throw 3-yard passes.
Yeah, you're right.
So all of these Dan Marino records are going by the amount of guys that are now going to throw for 50,000 yards or 60,000, and people
just different offense,
and people are going to say that, you know, forever, like Dan Marino was like this whipping boy because he never won a championship. The guy had no fucking defense, and go look up his running backs. Tony Nathan, Delvin Williams, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the football player, okay? Like, he was a one-man band. He came out there with the cymbals between his knees and the big bass drum. He had to do the whole fucking thing.
Who's your favorite athlete all time?
Favorite
quarterback all time?
Favorite quarterback all time.
The one guy you choose on your all-star team.
Dan Marino, I defend the most of all time. My favorite quarterback of all time, just absolute winner and got it done, I would say Joe Montana.
Okay. I hear that a lot from best basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Second
best?
Well, I'm not as read up on that in the 60s and to really know the impact of those guys. I mean,
you get these violent debates. Bill Russell and everybody freaks out.
Yeah, Bill Russell. I would say as far as individual player, I would go Kobe Bryant. But as far as a team player, Kobe drops tremendously. Like he's this weird thing where it's like he's awesome and a cancer all at the same time. Like driving Shaq out of town.
If you could be a pro athlete,
dropping his name to the cops, walking off the court during losses, none of that, like all of that, that stuff just breeds resentment.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck how many points you have. So, but he's also like, I mean, the drive that guy has,
incredible.
And how much he gives a shit, and how much he wants to win. Like, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. Just his behavior, his interpersonal skills are fucking horrific.
Yeah.
But his one-on-one
goes back to Lance Armstrong, how we started this fucking podcast.
Well, maybe he should ride a bike.
Maybe he should ride a fucking bike. But let me ask you this: if you could be a pro athlete at one sport, what would it be?
Well, judging the fallout of these, football players, that's going to be out.
It's got to be out.
I would be. I love them all, dude. But I maybe a hockey. I just think hockey's the coolest sport because it's underground. It's like in that band that hasn't made it yet.
Yeah.
I love that people can't see the puck. I love that they don't understand why they fight. Like. I love that. It's like, good. Just watch your Olympic hockey and then come at me and tell me.
It's a little bit like stand-up, isn't it? I mean, where you get people like, oh, The Hangover is the funniest movie in the world. Yeah, but if you come to see like a really good stand-up comic, you'll laugh way harder than you did in The Hangover. Way harder.
You know when I realized that? When I went to go see Something About Mary, and it was the scene where she puts his fluids in her hair.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in this packed audience, and they were laughing like the laughs I hear in a comedy club. And I remember sitting there going like, wow, this must be what it's like to sit in the crowd at a comedy club.
Yeah.
To laugh like...
I say that. I say my friends I got a group of friends that can make you laugh so much harder than any movie you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yet
not to say The Hangover is not funny. It's a different thing. You're telling a story.
It's a different thing. Well, we got to wrap this up, but I want to thank Bill Burr, the great Bill Burr, for
thank
doing
you. My tolerance of you was really went away about 20 minutes ago. So
listen, it's a privilege to talk to you.
I kept trying to give you a signal there to wrap it up.
I was just hoping we could be friends. You're the man, pal. Thank you. Bill Burr, ladies and gentlemen.
At you.
Bill Burr.
Go see him in Utah.
You've been listening to The Bryan Callen Show. Be sure to visit bryancallen.com for information about this episode as well as past and future episodes. You can follow Bryan on Twitter @Bryan Callen and like him on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Bryan Callen Comedy. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.